It's an invasion of handhelds, but yeah guys, 2020, we have some new stuff coming up. So stay tuned and let's go! Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in this video we are going to talk about a new handheld in this invasion. A message from the future where I was talking about new stuff that is coming to the channel, or just stuff that I'm just quite interested in and want to show you. But nevertheless, we are going to talk about the GP430. This is a retro game player that is based on the Raspberry Pi CM3 module. So it's not powerful, let's say, like the Raspberry Pi 4. So that's in my opinion a little bit of a bummer, and I'm hoping in the future we are finally going to see some more powerful handhelds. But don't get me wrong, I think it's quite interesting. But it's also very interesting that the design itself, what I understand of the person who made this, I already had some email conversation with the person who more so like designed the handheld, and they just made it completely new. It's not a redone or a rip-off from the Game Boy. I think I'm going to like the D-pad. It looks quite interesting because I'm a D-pad guy and most of the time they are messing that up. So this thing is running on a CPU Cortex. Let's take a close look at the specifications. The size is 185 by 80 by 20 millimeters. It has a weight of 250 grams. The CPU is a quad-core CPU that has a 1.2 GHz clock. The ARM Cortex A53 with 1 GB of RAM. It has an internal storage, or better said, it has basically a 64 GB micro SD because the internal storage is basically the SD card. And you can upgrade it to a 256 GB card. So the display itself will be a 4x3 inch IPS screen with 800 by 480. That is quite an interesting display in my opinion. It has a 5000 mAh high performance lithium battery that will be charged by a 5V 2A battery charger. What I find still a little bit of a bummer that they're using the Pi CM3L. Don't get me wrong, it's quite powerful, but not powerful to run, let's say, Sega Dreamcast and PSP. So at the end, we are all using Raspberry Pi 4s and most of the new generation of handhelds. So in my opinion, it's a step back. Don't get me wrong, there are still so many handheld systems or console systems you can emulate on this machine. But let's be honest, there are so many handhelds now out there that can already do this. So what is the point of it? I know for a fact that PlayStation 1 it will run, that will be no problem. NDS or Nintendo DS, but N64 for example, it will always be a little bit of a problem. Or we just need to have a powerhouse of a system that can basically run everything. So I'd really love to know from you guys, what do you think of a 4.3 inch IPS display? Is it something you can live with, or do you really want to have a 5 inch or at least a 7 inch for this? It's a very expensive handheld, so even if they are using a 5 or 7 inch, it will even get more expensive. So compared with let's say the GP430 and the CM3 I'm already owning, they say that it has a way better screen and it will fit perfectly. So I'm very curious about that one. How does it fit? How does it basically feel, and how does it look compared with the GP430? So let's talk about the analog stick. They are using a 360 spin analog stick. Well, it's an analog stick, but how good is the quality? I'm very curious about it. Is it going to be this tiny wiggle stick, or is it going to be a very decent analog stick that we can enjoy with playing some fighting games, for example? The buttons, we're having all the shuttle buttons that we're going to need. We're having all the connections like type C 1 and 2 for playing together with friends. So you hook up a controller or basically a keyboard. HDMI out, so we can use this thing like a game console. We're having stereo sound and headphone out. We're having volume control, that's also very rare with these devices. And we're having the TF card port and the bottom. But they are saying with this double speaker we're going to have an amazing sound and a lot of bass. So I am now curious because I really love soundtracks, and if this device has a very good sound, oh man, it will deserve some extra kudos. So for the cooling, they have chosen to give a little cooling block on the CM3 itself and a turbine fan, and I'm curious how loud this thing will be. I hope it will not, because I did own some of these Pi systems that had like a freaking vacuum cleaner inside. And that was really annoying when you're walking around with this thing, people looking at you, thinking, what the hell are you doing? Nevertheless, this is what they're giving us for the cooling solution. Very curious how cool it will be. So hey, we have support for multiplayer. Of course, already mentioned that we can use controllers. Look at all the happy faces. But we're going to get some quite interesting handheld in my opinion. It's not something new because all of these Pi-based handhelds have the same support. I think it's pretty cool that we can hook it up to the controller and the television. So basically we're having a console and handheld in one, like Nintendo Switch. But what I think is pretty cool that it also comes in different colors. We're having transparent version, we're having a white with blue. It's just crazy. We have quite some different options now. But nevertheless, what do you think of it? It's not very cheap. It costs $170 shipped from China. I don't know if there's an additional shipping cost due of, let's say, different countries. For me, it's almost free shipping, but maybe for your country it will be a little bit more expensive. I think it's a lot of money, but with the competition that is out now, if this is interesting, let me know in the comments. I want to thank you for watching. Consider subscribing. Would say it would be great to have you here in the Wicked family, and I'll see you in the next video.